Hi guys, how are you? I'm Googling Bryan Callen right now because I was curious what's going on with him since I made that video about Chris D'Elia like a couple months ago. I know Bryan from Laugh Factory and Helium, where I used to manage, and also I was cocktail waitress at Laugh Factory. So a lot of people have been asking me to comment on things going on in the comedy world. A lot of your comments have been very mean, and you're like, we don't want to hear from this stupid cocktail waitress that thinks all men are awful. I did clarify in a later video that I did not mean all men treat women as holes. Okay, so just calm the fuck down. I want to talk about Bryan and what I know about him and what's been going on with his career. Because this morning I was literally laying in bed and I pick up my phone and I'm like, what's going on with Bryan? I haven't really heard much since the allegations and all that happened a couple weeks ago. So I got my beer, Ocean Lab. This is a Puerto Rican beer that I love. I'm in Puerto Rico right now, just riding out COVID and trying to figure out what to do with my life next. I also have spent the last month off. Thank you to everybody who has sent me messages and emails and such asking how I am. It was a really rough month. I actually just did a lot of self-reflection in therapy on ways of being that I have, patterns in my dating life. I really took a look at some bad habits that I have, like cutting people out of my life if they piss me off, judging other people who have differing opinions. I'm looking at how I interact with men in dating, how I might use them, how I feel like people use me. It's been kind of like self-reflective and yicky. It's been like a yicky month of just talking with my therapist, who's based out of LA, on just like stuff that I want to change about myself. So I've been doing that for a month. I'm back now. Thank you for being patient. I'm curious just because I actually was not going to post about this today, but I was, like I said, lying in bed. I Googled Bryan Callen and I saw something disturbing actually, and I want to kind of bitch a little bit about a few things that are annoying me right now. So bear with me. Okay, so I went to the news. I did Bryan Callen. Okay. I saw this. Bryan Callen dropped by agents at CAA Innovative Artist. Okay, 3 days ago. First of all, that really sucks, and I feel really bad for Bryan. He has been accused of sexual misconduct, and it goes back as far as 1999. I don't know who these women are. I don't know what happened back then. I feel like my limited knowledge of Bryan is that he's a flirty, sexual guy, but he is respectful of women. So that's my basic thoughts on Bryan, on my limited pea-brain knowledge. Some people have said that I have a worldview of a 13-year-old in the comments, so that, like, fine, think whatever you want about me. I'm just sharing my limited, tiny little one-person knowledge of another person. And I wanted to say, I saw Bryan after a few shows, and I was crying a couple of these times because I'm always in some kind of existential trauma about living and what I should do with my life and how I just get on in the world, because I'm like fucked up like everybody else, only I'm a little more vocal about it. And I was crying one night after a comedy show, and Bryan was like, listen, you need to be a therapist. I think you'd be really good at being a therapist. And I was like, no, that seems like it's going to take a long time. I have to go to school for that. And then I was like, well, maybe you have something there. I could possibly write a book or, you know, start a blog. And he's like, no, just like do it day by day. Don't like think of the end goal. Just think about what you can do in a small sense to be a therapist, and pick one thing every day to go toward a goal if you think that's something you'd be good at. Now, I don't know if that's what I really wanted to do, and he was kind of convinced about it after this conversation, and just kind of knowing a little bit about me and how I'm always wanting to talk about emotions and feelings and ways of being and human nature. So he saw that in me, said I should be a therapist, and then he followed up with me a few times by text, like, how are you doing with being a therapist? And what I decided with his advice of doing something little every single day was to just get therapy myself. So I talked to my roommate at the time, and she knew somebody that she had been seeing, and we made it happen. And so now I'm seeing a lady, she's a psychotherapist out of LA. We We have phone meetings every week. She works with me based on my income, and sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, and she's really cool about it, and I've really gotten to work through a lot of issues that I have. So I want to be a better person. I want to stop being a piece of shit in a lot of ways to a lot of people. So I've committed to that, and it's been really good. And I have Bryan to thank for that, because he inspired the thought in me. And I thought, well, you should get therapy before you consider possibly even being a therapist, because you don't even know if you're going to like it. So that's where I'm at with Bryan. He holds a special place in my heart. I know nothing about his life with these women or with any other people that he has been with. I just know him on a strictly nice emotional way that he's responded to some existential angst that I had, and I'm grateful for that. So that's the background to tell you. I was Googling Bryan this morning, and this fucking reporter from the LA Times really pissed me off with how she's handled it. And the LA Times really pissed me off with it. And in general, I think cancel culture is just so toxic and disgusting, and it represents people that just don't understand that more nuanced, deeper truths can exist at the same time, and that they don't give the people benefit of the doubt that maybe they're not just maybe everything's just not exactly true as you read it in the media, and it is filtered through the people trying to make money that are the executives at the media, and then you got the reporters that have their own ways of writing and how fervent they want to be in their social justice causes. And this Amy Kaufman is writing some really rude things, and I was on her Twitter page, and it's just bubblegum garbage about celebrity gossip, and that's her vibe. That's who this girl is. She's a film and TV blogger, writer, and that's fine if it's about fake things, fake TV shows and actors that are in the TV shows. But once you start messing with actual real people's lives, especially comedians, because they put themselves out there in a very pure and true way to tell a truth about something, either politically or socially, that we all can't necessarily talk about together, but we can laugh at ourselves for. So I have a lot of respect for comedians, and when you start with fucking with their lives like this, like she did with the LA Times, it really pissed me off that Bubblegum Girl now is going after comedians. And then you have people like CAA and Innovative Artists dropping him because popular culture and people can't think that maybe there's more to the story than this. So also, these comedians are helping people laugh, and they play a role in society, and to just cancel them like this I think it's fucking rude. And what little bit I know about Bryan is that he seems maybe he's flirty, maybe he's a sexual guy. He's 53, so he was born a little bit further back in the generation. Maybe that was more acceptable to be certain level of flirty, but so what? So what? I don't know. I don't know if those allegations actually happened, but it shouldn't be okay to just not be convicted in a fucking court of law. This is what I said about Chris D'Elia. Was he convicted in a court of law? No. So now this fucking New York Times reporter and the LA Times reporter and the fucking LA Times publishing articles, and if you read them, they're just written so like a fucking bad romance novel or something. I'm so annoyed at these guys getting canceled. And then, okay, then you have douchebags like Andrew Schultz. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't stand this guy. Real woman haters, if you ask me, that say stuff like this. Okay, Andrew Schultz is a New York comedian, thinks he's so smart, and he just blabs his liquefied mouth. Men just talking, mansplaining everything. And yeah, he's kind of funny, but he's just so opinionated and proud of his opinions. It's just so annoying to watch, and everybody just raises people like this up on a pedestal. And it's like the most cringe-worthy, eye-rolly shit I've ever seen. So I was watching this podcast today where he says Schultz causes the Call Her Daddy Barstool breakup. Okay, he thinks like he caused it because he's talking about how he was supposed to go on a Tinder date with one of the girls in the podcast, the brown-headed girl, and then like he canceled because he wanted to watch the game, and then she was in full makeup and went out with an HBO executive, and then the HBO executive ended up shopping around their podcast and whatever. It's like stupid drama that I don't even give a shit about. Like all these people's lives, like, they're not giving me money, so I don't even know why I'm talking about this like so passionately. Like I even fucking care, but I just get annoyed at people and I like need an outlet to talk about it. So you have like people like Andrew Schultz, and he says shit like this. Okay, so people like Bryan Callen that would never say this about women are getting canceled, and then you have like slippery mouthed, tongue like moist lipped morons like this guy. I gotta calm down. So he says this, and it pissed me off.
The girls that did it with these two girls that just talk about like sucking dick and fucking and like, you know, fingering turkeys and all that kind of shit. And it's one of like the girl whore podcasts, very popular genre of podcasts.
He's like the girl whore podcast, a very popular podcast. He says it very matter-of-factly. And like later on, he's talking about how it's like so easy for him not to fuck female executives because female executives are all gay. You know, basically saying that straight women can't be executives. Like, people like this are not getting canceled. But people like Bryan that are striving to be family people, and some bitch from 1999 wants to cause some trouble and get her 5 minutes of fame and can get like drawn up from the ashes, and he's canceled in his show and his podcast, or like, you know, he's having problems with the podcast. He now had to take it to Patreon, I think. I don't know. It's like people need to watch the type of people that they give value to. We give value to shitty people, and we raise them up. And a lot of times these shitty people are like funny men. And especially a lot of like men in the world love these comedians, but there's like shitty comedians out there that are like shitty people, and there's people that are like upstanding people. There's a whole range. And I'm not saying like that I am even not a shitty person, okay? Like, I take full responsibility for all of the harm that I've done people, and my own ego, and my own, like, whatever disorders I have up in my fucking head, okay? We're all on this earth trying to survive. None of us asked to be here. It's very complicated being a human being because you have to, like, figure out how to have food, how to get all your desires met sexually. We have all these insecurities. So it's like hard being alive, and everybody's just very, very mean to each other. And I just think that we just need to have more empathy and less biting, less canceling. And oh God, I'm just like on a roll today with people that annoy me. And then I was watching these chicks on Joe Rogan, again, just like talking about just paying attention to the people that you idolize. Like, don't idolize people, especially some of these leftists that think that there can't be multiple opinions at the same time and multiple truths can't exist. Like, maybe Trump has done some things for the economy, but he's also said some really stupid things. But like, maybe he's also the best in these ways, but he's been shitty here. Like, there is a conversation to be had about stuff that's going on. It's not just all like hate, 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 because that's this emotional response that just feels good to a lot of these people. And people like love to blame others for stuff that we should all, in society, that we should all be solving together through communication. I think everybody needs to find a therapist. That is the theme of what I'm saying today. And thank you, Bryan Callen, for being the one person that inspired me to find my therapist. If you ever watch this, I hope that, you know, you find a better fucking agent than these assholes at CAA and Innovative Artists. You know, that was stupid. I hope you do your own show and fuck all these people. And I was watching fucking these girls on Joe Rogan. Ugh. I'm sorry. Why do I hate everybody?
the moment something happens, there's no too soon for. I mean, Tony's like,
oh no.
It's like these girls are my worst nightmare from high school. They just all like this, and they're just like and like everybody like this, and then you know what I mean, and like it's so funny, and it's when I'm on, and so I'm hot, and it's like they can't see past their own noses. It's just like I feel like they're just like not self-reflective, or I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about these fucking two girls that make me crazy.
Like at one point, like murder your family. You're like, do you think Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. It just like feels so filled with ego. You know? People that are so filled with ego.
It's like, fuck did you just say to me?
It's like emotional sparring or something.
It's like emotional sparring or something.
It's
really fucked up or something.
Years, you know, it's like I never feel more equal. Like
I am just social. I'm about women's rights and equal, and you know, I just have things to say, and I'm really funny. And I think the comedy world is just like there's so much fucking garbage people in it, and the people that aren't garbage people are getting canceled. And just watch the people you idolize and use these people to make you laugh where they do, and then recognize that you know, some are good, some are bad, some are annoying as fuck. And that's all I have to say. I don't know. I'll talk next time more about what's been going on in my personal life. And thank you for watching. Stay uncanceled, okay? Okay, bye.